The United Nations top judicial body has ordered Israel to pause all operations in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. The International Court of Justice on Friday called the humanitarian situation in Rafah, quote, disastrous, but Israeli forces are unlikely to comply with the court's demands. Meanwhile, the IDF says it recovered the bodies of 3 more hostages killed in the initial Hamas attack on October 7th. CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd joins us now. So, Sam, what developments are you following at this stage in the war?
Well, Lana, as you mentioned, Israel's military operations in Rafah continue apace, and they are uncovering the bodies of Israeli hostages abducted by Hamas on October 7th. Against this backdrop, the humanitarian situation in Gaza is dire. As you know, President Biden announced a maritime pier to deliver assistance in March, and that pier became operational last week. Now, while there were assistance deliveries onto the pier and then onto the beach in Gaza, over 800 metric tons of aid, there were delays in dispersing that aid to civilians in Gaza because of logistical issues as well as security concerns. The administration has now said that the majority of that aid has moved to the people that need it, and that they plan to ramp up aid by sea over the coming weeks. Unfortunately, land crossings between Gaza and its neighbors remain largely closed. Land crossings are where the majority of aid could come through. That's why we saw President Biden speak with President Sisi of Egypt today, where he reached an agreement on a provisional basis for more aid to flow through the Kerem Shalom crossing in the coming days. And finally, Israel is increasingly isolated on the international stage. Both the ICC and the ICJ have made announcements that are largely unenforceable, but that do put Israel in a bit of a diplomatic box. Norway, Spain, and Ireland announced that they will recognize a Palestinian state. And so Israel is increasingly isolated while all eyes are on whether more humanitarian aid will flow into Gaza next week.
Sam, let's talk about President Biden welcoming the Kenyan president for a state visit this week. It was the first time that an African leader has had a state visit since 2008. Talk to us more about the significance of this meeting and what we can expect going forward.
Well, the geopolitical drivers behind President Ruto's invitation to Washington are clear. Kenya, like many African countries, has historically had deep ties with Russia and China. China, for example, has poured billions of dollars in loans onto the continent. And that's why when President Ruto arrived in Washington, he and President Biden made a series of announcements regarding enhanced bilateral cooperation. On the military front, President Biden announced that Kenya will become a major non-NATO ally. That's a legal designation and really opens up a range of defense, trade, and security cooperation for Kenya from the United States. It's the first sub-Saharan African country to get that designation. And on the economic front, Biden made a range of announcements about enhanced U.S. investment in Kenya, access to CHIPS Act funding, and work together to reduce Kenya's debt burden. Kenya owes a lot of its debt to China. And coming out of the visit, the global signal that's really sent is that Kenya doesn't just need to turn towards China and Russia, but really it can depend on the United States.
Well, finally, let's talk about the U.S.-Mexico border, Sam, because migrant crossings are down. What's happening there?
Well, we have seen a massive drop in the apprehension of irregular migrants at the southwest border. In the first 3 weeks of May, we understand that migrant apprehensions at the southwest border are 54% lower than they were in December when they reached a historic high. Encounters averaged about 3,700 individuals daily versus 8,000 in December, Lana. And that begs a question of what changed. In my conversations with DHS officials, they indicate that there has been intensive pressure on the government of Mexico to step up their own enforcement within Mexico, as well as a huge focus by the administration on the removals and returns of individuals apprehended at the southwest border to third countries. They believe that that may be a deterrent to individuals trying to come here illegally. And so we should also keep in mind that this time of year is historically when irregular migrant apprehensions increase. So the trend does seem to be going in a positive direction when it comes to irregular immigration to our southwest border.
All right, Sam Vinograd, thank you.
Thanks.